One of the number one reasons why women struggle with dating and relationships today is that they choose men who are not ready for anything real. Ladies, there are lots of great relationship-ready men out here. However, you need to learn how to choose them. I wrote this book to teach you how to do just that. Get your copy of Choose Well, a simple formula to determine the best man for you on Amazon today.
Good morning. I am headed into the office and just wanted to jump on quickly without a real topic in mind, if I'm being honest. However, I want to continue to encourage people who are really between 30 and 40, people who are unmarried, people who are not in a relationship or a serious committed relationship. You're not married. Maybe you don't have any children yet. Maybe some of you do have children and you still want to find your person. So maybe you had children earlier, whether that was a mistake, whether it was someone that you were dating or fooling around with, or it was a mistake, or maybe you were in a relationship previously and you had a child with that person hoping that it would become something serious or something more long-term, and it didn't. But if you're between the ages of 30 and 40, that 10-year period is a very, that's a time in our lives when, according to how we're developing, that we are kind of settling in, we're settling down, we're getting more serious about life and about where our life is headed. And I see more and more people in that age range between 30 and 40 that they are still flailing. They're still very much flailing like in their 20s. And I don't understand it because, yeah, by 30, I was a grown up. Like I was a grown up. I was pretty grown up in my 20s. So I've talked about this arrested development before many times on my channel. I don't get it. I really love being an adult. I love the power and the freedom that being a true adult brings. I cannot imagine like living at home with my parents at 30 and, living in my childhood room that I grew up in and, having to ask to eat certain things out of the refrigerator. I can't relate to that at all. Like nothing about that appeals to me at all. And yet, lots of people are doing that. Lots of people are still in that predicament, or they have tried to get out and they've come back home. And this is not to shame anybody. And what's funny is the number one thing people will say to me is, oh, the economy, the economy, the economy. They keep screaming about how horrible the economy is. But when I tell y'all, when I moved to Atlanta in my 20s, I think I was 23. I was 23 or 24. And I moved clean out of state. I moved several states over from where I'm from, moved to Atlanta on my own without a job in sight, no place to live. Like when I tell you all, what that got to do with anything? And worked multiple jobs. I did what I had to do to find a place to live, to find jobs. Like what I'm not understanding is the chutzpah, is the get up and go, is the, doing what you have to do to make it happen. And it's like people today don't really have that anymore, right? They don't have that drive, that ambition, like, yeah, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make it happen. But it's like, that's gone. And even now, when I'm talking to my kids, I'm like, okay, let me give y'all my formula, because I believe my formula can still work. My formula was, okay, I am going to work multiple jobs. I'm going to find the best jobs I can find, work multiple jobs, making money. I'm going to live within my means. I am not going to buy things and go places and do things that I truly can't afford just to flex on the gram. That's not going to happen. I'm probably going to live with multiple people. Not my parents. Not my parents, okay? But multiple other adult people. I'm going to have roommates. I'm going to live with multiple people. And together, we are going to be able to be out and living on our own as adults. So that counts, but living with your parents does not count. So if you're living with roommates, you're still an adult. You're still out on your own. You're still, doing you, right? But I have talked to my kids quite a bit about my formula for how I do it. And, they've rejected all of that. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do, okay, well, you don't want to grow up. That's, in essence, what you're telling me. You don't want to grow up. You don't want to get it out the mud. You don't want to do what's necessary to be an adult, because that is what's necessary. So this arrested development is kicking our tail. And you got adult people out here, and when I say adult, I mean over 21, that are really flailing. They're struggling. They're struggling. Now, if you have the audacity, and let me say this, if you have the audacity, and this is whether you are a man or a woman, to be flailing like that, to be barely making it, to not be a real true adult, and then you bring a child into the world, like what in the world are you thinking? So it's like digging a hole and then continuing to dig that hole and continuing, like what? There are people that have multiple children before they're 35, unmarried, not in a stable situation, but they just keep having kids. And I'm trying to understand, do you know how birth control works? Can you try something? And look, a lot of women today, this is something I noticed a lot of women saying and stuff, which is really wild to me, is, the hormonal birth control, I don't like it, or it doesn't mesh with my system, or it makes me sick. They have all these excuses for the hormonal birth control. And I get it. I'm not saying I don't get it. But can you use condoms? Can you use, spermicide? Can you use an IUD, or I don't know. Can you use the sponge, or I don't know. Like, please use something. Use some sort of barrier method or something. Because y'all not even trying to not have kids, and your situation is not great. I don't get it. So, yeah, this arrested development is really hurting us. Yeah, I don't get it. I know when I was young, when I was in my 20s, man, like I said, I moved clean out of state. I didn't have no choice. It was like this, I couldn't go back in my mind, right? I couldn't go back. So I had to make it work. I had to make it work. And I had a lot of close calls. I had a lot of, almost not paying the rent and not paying the light bill and having to, you heard the stories. I had to eat SpaghettiOs out of the can and all this other stuff. But you know what? That built character. It built grit. It taught me what my priorities really were. It helped me to get my priorities in order. And it's like, if I'm being honest, it's unfortunate that people have to go through stuff like that to learn that, but maybe that's what has to happen. Maybe life is too comfortable. If I'm being honest, that's the state we're in now. Y'all keep crying about the economy, but clearly it's not that bad because nobody's getting up and getting out and getting it. Nobody's making anything happen. We still are the richest country in the entire world. We're still drowning in comfort. So yeah, when people complain about the economy and how bad it is and oh my gosh, and no, it's not. I mean, we are wealthy beyond our wildest dreams. If I went to the Dominican Republic, I'm considered like a billionaire. It's like, seriously, I need y'all to have perspective about this. If you are an average person going to the Dominican Republic or to Haiti, people see you as a millionaire. Oh my gosh, this person has multiple millions and now they're coming to our country and they're begging everywhere you go. They're trying to get $2 out of you, $5 out of you. That you're considered wealthy. So we really need to put this in perspective. All this crying about the economy and how expensive everything is and and I can't afford to buy a home and this and that. Okay, well, come together. This is more reason than ever to try to find your person, to try to find a partner and come together. There is strength in numbers. Even I knew that. I knew that in my 20s. That's why I lived with people. We would find a house. We would find a 3 or 4 bedroom house. We would get 3 or 4 or 6 of us. At one point, I lived with 6 people in a 4 bedroom house. There is strength in numbers. Come together and make it happen. And I mean, those are some of the best times, the best years of my life. And guess what else I learned? I learned how to get along with people. I learned how to resolve conflict. Like, it's funny because I have clients in their 30s and 40s and they're always asking me, like, how did you learn this stuff? How did you learn about conflict? How did you learn about, speaking up for yourself and expressing yourself? How did you learn how to, deal with people? Because they really struggle with that. People today do not know how to talk to people. They really struggle with just what I consider to be a basic life skill, is going to someone, talking to them. Hey, I had some orange juice downstairs and I just bought it yesterday. It's gone today. So all I'm asking is for basic respect, or if you want it, you ask me for it. Like, people don't have basic life skills. It's crazy to me, but that's what my whole 20s was about. Learning how to manage money. And y'all, I'm going to be honest, I jacked up my credit at least twice in my lifetime. I have destroyed my credit at least twice in my lifetime. Never filed for bankruptcy. But when I tell y'all my credit was in the 400s, I've jacked up my credit twice. Twice. Okay? So this ain't a talk from a person who's perfect. This is a real talk. That you are going to make some dumb mistakes. You are going to make some stupid mistakes. You are going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to fail in a big way. But as we used to say back in my day, you got to fail forward, right? I made a lot of stupid mistakes, but I failed forward. So I got a comment. People better stop, because soon that fat orange guy in DC is so evil. He and his evil people will put a halt to moms having too many babies. They will start killing babies. Countries do that now. Here's what's funny though. Republicans are not anti-natalism. That's a liberal thing. That's a Democratic thing. Republicans, they may not want a bunch of ignorant, ghetto black people having babies, but they want people having babies. That's a liberal Democratic concept. They are anti-natalism. They're the ones that don't want women having kids. They're the ones that, they don't want marriage. They don't want women having children. Yeah, that's a Democrat. That's a left-wing talking point. They are the anti-natalist crew. And I'm watching a talk right now. It's 2 hours long, so I'm just kind of taking it bit by bit. But one of, I think her name is Winsome. What is her name? She is an evolutionary psychologist. This woman's brilliant, very smart. And she's talking all about, things that I know, things that I've already come to terms with, that feminism is anti-woman, feminism is anti-natalist. It does not support motherhood. It doesn't support babies. It doesn't support marriage. And she believes that, at some point feminism got hijacked, right, by all these other groups and all this other stuff. So yeah, that's something that I've kind of awakened to, that, wow, feminism is not good for women. Feminism is not good for women and children. So, but it shocks me how many people just don't have adult skills. They don't know how to navigate life. They don't know how to navigate their money. They don't know how to navigate their job. I have clients, who have been in multiple jobs throughout their 20s. And that was, don't get me wrong, that was me too before I finally figured out my career. But they can't hold down a job. They can't hold down a job. There was a video on YouTube. I didn't watch it, but I thought the title was hilarious, where the woman was saying, they expect us to work 40 hours a week. And I can't even shower. I can't even do my toenails. And she was talking about all these things she couldn't do because she had a 40-hour week job. I was like, what? Like, this is where these 20 something year old people are going? What are you talking about? I can't, and we need to change things, and working 40 hours a week is too much. Man, I used to work 70 hours a week. Like, really? Huh? And had a rich, full dating life, had a rich, full social life, working 60 and 70 hours a week. What are you talking about? But it's like, people can't get up in the morning. People can't work 8 hours a day. People can't, it's wild to me that how we got here. How did we get here that we can't have a normal life? So yeah, y'all, it's just, I don't even know what to say. Like, I really don't. I don't even know how to respond to some of this stuff. Because as someone who got it out the mud, did what I had to do, educated myself. My parents didn't pay for any of my degrees. That was all me. Figuring it out, figuring out financial aid, figuring out scholarships and loans and whatever else. I figured it out. I did what I had to do. So I just, and these are the things that will build you as a person. See, if you try to skip over this part, too many people want to skip over the hard part, but you don't develop as a person doing that. You have to do the hard thing. But I have tons of, clients in their 20s. Well, how do I build grit? How do I build resistance? You do resilience. You do hard things. You do hard things. And they'll say, well, I started, but I can't finish it. Or, I want to take this class at 6 months and, around month 3, that's when I lose steam. Okay, well, you're not going to build grit. You're not going to build resilience. You're not going to improve your self-esteem because you started and you finished something. That's what's necessary. Discipline is doing the thing you don't want to do. It's just doing it. Do the thing you don't want to do, regardless of how you feel. And it's like people today, that is a very, that's an unpopular message. Do what I don't want to do? Yeah, that's my whole life is built on that. That's my whole life. That's my whole life still. So, yeah, it's the arrested development is like crazy to me. But if you're between 30 and 40, it's time to make some drastic changes. Like, you really got to decide. You really got to figure out what you're doing. You got to make some hard choices about, partnering, having children, having a family, if that's what you want to do. You got to make some really hard decisions. But what's sad is I have clients in their 30s. I have female clients between 30 and 40. They're unmarried. They don't have any kids. Now they're starting to figure out their career. Now they're starting to kind of buckle down and, figuring out their career and their living situation. And I'm like, okay, but if you want to have a family, you really got to start buckling down. You got to get serious. You got to get out there. You got to meet people. You got to swallow that pride. You got to let people know, hey, I'd be interested in meeting somebody. If you know anybody that's single, if you know anybody that's, open to dating and single and looking for their person, like, you got to get really serious. Because when I tell you, y'all think 20 to 30 go fast? You think 20 to 30 go fast? I got people who woke up at 30 and like, man, my 20s went fast. 30 to 40 is a blink of an eye. That 10 years, 30 to 40, Now I got clients. I got clients in there, 40 years old, and have the audacity to still be telling me, "Oh, I still want to get married." I said, "No, baby, I still want to have kids." That's the main thing they be saying. "Oh, I still want to have 2 and 3 kids at 40." At 40? Do you hear you? Do you hear you? And y'all, I don't be saying that, but I'm thinking, I say it much sweeter and kinder than that. But that's what I'm thinking. Like, baby, you are 40 years old and you have female problems. And you talking about you want multiple children? Y'all. So if I'm being honest, I have to be harsh sometimes. I have to be direct because it's like people need a shock. They need a shock to the system to wake up. It's like, do I come in the room and wake you up by whispering, or do I come in the room shaking you and elevating my voice to wake you up? So sometimes these videos are harsh. They're loud. They're direct because people have got to wake up. That 30 to 40 time, it goes fast. And I remember when I turned 40, I had an epiphany. I had a wake up call. I said, you know what? I got to change my life again. Like, and that was the second or third time that I changed my life. I was like, oh, I need to change my life again. And look, I'm about to do it again. like I have these epiphanies every 10 years. When I turn 60, I'm going to wake up and say, okay, Anita, we need to change our life again. So this is the wake up call for a lot of you. Okay? This is the wake up call. Somebody has to give it to you. Somebody has to care enough to say, look, you think you have all day, every day? You don't. You don't. And then, look, I got a 22-year-old. I have two 22-year-old clients that are in a relationship. I talked to them last night. I was like, look, you going to wake up at 57? They were like, 57? I was like, yeah, you're going to wake up at 57 one day. And this little dumb stuff you doing today, like, come on now. I know y'all 22, 23, and it's cute now, but you're going to wake up at 57. And I want you to think about, what do you want life to be like at 57, and reverse engineer your life back. That's what I did. I said, what do I want my life to be like at 60? And I just started reverse engineering my life. So that's all. Somebody's got to wake you up. Somebody's got to ring the alarm. God has told me that it's me, especially for women. Y'all got to wake up. Okay? And you got to get serious. All this, as we used to say, the old folks used to say, pussyfooting around, that's got to end. That's got to end. You got to get a little more assertive. You got to get a little more assertive with life. Life is not going to just, all your hopes and dreams are not going to come knocking at your door. You got to get a little assertive. You got to go out there and get it. You got to go out there and get it. I'm seeing too many people sitting around, sitting on the couch crying about not meeting the love of their life. You got to get up and get out and get it. Okay? You got to get more assertive. It's not going to come knocking at your door. You got to make some changes, and then you got to go out there and get it. That's it. That's the talk. So have a great Saturday. It has gotten so cold here, y'all. We're waking up to 50 degrees every day now. And I'm trying not to put on the heat, but it's like we went from 80 to 50. And I'm just like, so now I got my space heater on in the house, because I'm trying not to put on the whole heat, because that'd be making my bill go up. But yeah, it's been really cold here. So, but it's a beautiful day, beautiful, clear day. I'll be driving to Charlottesville to pick up my daughter who wants to come home for the weekend. So, hey, Alta, how are you? So, I want y'all to enjoy your day. And if you're between 30 and 40, seriously, time waits for no man. You got to get on it. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your Saturday. And as always, stay open to love.